Okay, well, I thought this would be a fun thing to do on my channel, especially with Season 3 of Cobra Kai on the way. I do karate, I've done it for a long time. I even do the style of karate Goju-Ryu, whose founder was actually named Miyagi. I got my second degree black belt in it just this year, in fact. But anyway, more importantly, I just love the show. It's really good. It's way better than I was expecting. So a very pleasant surprise for this child of the 80s. Anyway, let's get to the fights. What I'm going to do is, what I've done is compiled metrics on each of the fights. I love the fight scenes, I love the fight choreography, and I'm kind of a numbers nerd. So the very first encounter isn't really a fight, but I'll count it quickly anyway, because we're going to hit them all. So, and there's only 2 in episode 1. Miguel versus Kyler and his friends. Again, not really much of a fight. There's a total of 4 techniques here. 3 of them are by Kyler. He grabs poor Miguel, throws him hard. He pours Pepto-Bismol on his head. I'm counting that as 1. In the composite image here, you can see Johnny trying to stay out of it while that's going on. On my spreadsheet, I have, who threw each technique, who received it, and what was the result. So the result column just says humiliation for that one. Well, here's Miguel later. He, of course, follows Johnny Lawrence's advice and becomes a badass, but that is definitely not yet, so Kyler's just throwing him around, pouring Pepto-Bismol on his head, then he gives him a body shot. It's a classic undercut, so the very first strike of the entire series is an undercut body punch from Kyler to Miguel. Miguel then tries to run away and gets pushed into Johnny's car hard. And that, of course, leads to the first real fight of the series, which I'm entitling Watch the Car Man, because that's what Johnny says. It is a really good one. I think the fight coordinators understood that they had to kind of hit a home run on the first real fight. I counted 25 techniques as Johnny takes on Kyler and his friends. Kyler is really funny. He's like the king of telegraphing. He shows you that he's going to punch you or push you from a mile away, and that's how this starts. He pushes Johnny, who still doesn't really want to get into it, but that's the last straw, so he responds, really gets things going, with a jumping crescent kick to the head. Connects solidly and sends Kyler kind of spinning away. Kyler's buddies move in, and Johnny shows some pretty cool multiple attack defense. He lets the first one kind of go by in an Aikido-like move, and then puts him in kind of a wrist lock. While he's holding him that way, he left hooks the second bully and then side kicks the third as he comes in. Now he's got to get ready for some more, so he hammer fists the kid he's holding to the face. Smart move, multiple attackers, protect your hand, right? You're going to need it. So hammer fist to the head face of a doubled over opponent, perfect angle, and that lets him free up for Kyler, who's returning. And what do we say about Kyler? He telegraphs everything, so he shows Johnny that he is charging straight in, even yells as he does so. And, technically, higher level martial arts, you should move out of the way, use the opponent's onrushing momentum against him, all that, blah, blah, blah. But I certainly remember sparring and catching an incoming hard charger with a front kick. It's a natural response, and it's what Johnny Lawrence goes for here. Now, when you do impale someone with a front kick who's rushing in like that, they don't actually bounce away and go flying in the other direction. But anyway, they did a good job of selling it. So, say what you will about Kyler, if nothing else, he is tough because he's taken a super hard kick to the gut, as well as one to the head, both producing brutal knockdowns. No TKOs or KOs in the fight yet. Now Johnny's got to take on 2 of the friends at once. He ducks under a punch and lands a left to the body on the kid in our foreground, and almost immediately sweeps the kid behind him. That is the only unrealistic technique of the entire fight, I would say. There's just nothing like that in judo, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, whatever. It's like the rug got yanked out from under the kid's feet from behind at about 100 miles an hour. Johnny delivers a head kick to the downed opponent in the foreground here for good measure. Boy, wait do you see how he dominates the fight stats. But that leads to the first effective technique used against him, as the big kid here finally does something smart. One of them does, uses his size and lower center of gravity to pin Johnny up against a post. Unfortunately for him, he doesn't follow it up with anything, so he gets elbowed in the back and thrown onto the car hood for his trouble. It's pretty funny. During all of this, Miguel has absolutely no intention of getting involved. He does, though, distract his rescuer, which allows Kyler, who's coming back for more, to effect a belly-to-back slam on Johnny and followed up with a hard shot to the ribs. So Kyler finally gets some points on the board, and then, as they're getting up, he puts a submission attempt on, a choke. How about that? And it's working, but Johnny counters with an elbow to the body and a shoulder throw. We can see that the stuntman or actor here has his head properly tucked, And believe it or not, none of the attackers, Kyler included, are finished yet. They're all going to come back for more. Kyler's the first one to do that, even after this. Like, I've seen people, get the air knocked out of their lungs while getting thrown onto a padded mat. I remember my teeth rattling inside my mouth guard on one. So once again, props to Kyler, because I would not have gotten up from this. And that's kind of the fun thing with some of these fights, too. Obviously, they're exaggerated, even though they aim for realism. So it's funny in watching Cobra Kai. There's just so many brutal techniques that people just walk away from. Anyway, Kyler gets up, does his thing, which is yells and runs and shows exactly what he's going to do. Also, always drops his other hand, his non-punching hand, as low as possible. Anyway, Johnny dodges that, and I kind of counted that as a technique. Usually I don't count evasions or blocks, but I did this one because it basically sends Kyler flying with his own momentum. Johnny then lands a crescent kick to the head on the big kid. That's the first TKO of the bout. Not a jumping crescent kick like before, and this one's inner to outer instead of outer to inner. Anyway, one of the kids then lands a nice left hand on Johnny, one of their only other highlights. Then they trap him in between them, which is nice, but he lands a headbutt on the one in front of him, a back fist on the one behind him, and then a left hand to the one in front, so he goes front, back, front. Nice. And that gets him TKO 2 and 3. Kyler comes back for the final time with a very obvious running haymaker yet again, and Johnny's choking him out when the police arrive. They go 2-0 against Johnny, although it's really not a fair fight. Mace in the face, and then either a punch or billy club to the back of the head. Not fair, since he was defending Miguel, basically. Anyway, 25 techniques, Johnny scores 19 of them. More than 3 out of 4. Kyler is next with a massive drop-off, just 4 techniques, and that's counting his push at the start of things with Johnny, which is really just more of a social fight move. And if you thought Kyler's performance was bad, look at his friends. All 3 of them combine for 2, let's call them points. But, at least they tried. So I've got police in the mix on the bottom half of the numbers, but that was just ridiculous. That was just for fun. Although really all of this is ridiculous. Anyway, it was a great fight. Like I said, I think they knew they needed to hit a home run. Here's your winner, Johnny Lawrence, in this first fight, and they did it. There was chokes, slams, kicks, punches. There's a sweep, there's a headbutt, there's a jumping kick, 2 elbows, a hammer fist, and it all looks good. Great job on sound editing, too, by the way. You can hear the actors, kind of, when someone takes a real significant strike or fall, you can hear the hit, like really palpably, and then you'll hear them groaning as the fight continues on without them. Final nerdy note, the longest streak of the fight, no surprise, Johnny Lawrence, when he scores 9 unanswered techniques on his 4 opponents. And that's it for Cobra Kai Episode 1. Thanks.